You are listening to The Cheap Seats.
What the hell's going on out here?
Brought to you by Agamemnon Self-Defense.
Now, here are your hosts.
This is the end. The absolute end.
Steve Willis and Steve Desmond.
Good afternoon, everybody. XERS Radio. You are tuned in to the Cheap Seats. Once again, I am your host, Steve Willis. Alongside me, NIU's very own Steve Detterman. How are you, sir?
I am here again tonight. This is a great couple weeks in a row. I'm doing great. We actually have, in my opinion, the start of golf. When the Masters begins, it's the start of golf for me. Baseball started. Hockey, we're getting right down to the playoffs. That begins next week. I mean, it's just been crazy, hasn't it?
Oh, man, it's been all kinds of nuts. The NHL has been wild, and the NBA too.
And we're going to have we will not have a defending Stanley Cup champion in the playoffs.
That is
We will
correct.
go over that.
That is correct. We'll touch on that a little bit later. And without any further ado, live in studio, we promised he was going to be here, and he is here. It is our NASCAR guru, the one, the only, the Josh Briggs. How are you, sir?
Hey, guys, I love what you're doing with the place. Thanks for having me.
Well,
living in the penthouse.
Yeah, absolutely.
Actually, we're in the doghouse.
I'm just glad Consuela let him in. Because
yes.
honestly, he kind of looks like he could have been the cable guy or something.
Hey, maybe it could have been. Yeah,
she's known to sick the dogs on guys.
Well,
like that, so.
Beasley was out front.
Yeah, absolutely.
She was ready to take.
You got
up.
by security, so
yes.
you know you're going to be good.
All right.
So, first of all, the show's brought to you by Rock's Sports Bar and Grill. For those that go to Rock's, we salute you. And, of course, we are in the Rock studio right here on the lovely 32nd floor.
The campus.
The XCRS campus. Yes. So, in all of this, in everything that's going on right now, which is really funny because April, in a lot of ways, is kind of one of those weird hiccupy times in the sports world. The reason is we're not quite ready for the playoffs in the NBA and NHL, but there's enough interest there because everybody's getting set for the playoffs. You got the playoff hunts. College basketball has ended.
Yes.
Major League Baseball is just beginning.
Right.
So it's kind of I shouldn't really say like a lull. It's more of it just kind of pulls you in 1,000 different directions.
I think what April is like the jam-packed month of the whole year because
right.
You've got the beginning of baseball.
Right.
You've got the wind down of the NHL and the NBA.
Right.
We got the draft. Remember, the draft is coming up at the end of this month.
Right.
I mean, so you've got that coming in. College basketball is just ended. College football, they're now getting to their spring practices, and you're getting to those. I mean, it's all just starting to.
Every sport has a headline.
Golf is getting into swing. I mean,
and NASCAR's heating up.
Yeah, NASCAR. Yeah, I mean,
by now you're a half dozen races in, and
you just had your week off, and you're ready to go.
Right,
yes,
exactly. Yeah. So out of all of them, obviously you can only pull your attention to so many different directions. We have literally mentioned every major sport in the United States. Give me your top three that you would have to pay attention. If you can only devote your time to three sports right now.
Oh my God.
Which three would you devote your time to?
Hockey, because I mean we're starting the playoffs next week.
Right.
Oh my God. I gotta stick at three because I can't.
I know, but these are the rules. You gotta play by the rules.
Well, hockey's one.
Okay. So we got hockey. Which I kind of expected.
Football's got to be in there because I mean, football is my number one sport, and with the draft and everything else going, the spring games and all that stuff going on.
Right. What is number three?
Boy, oh boy, oh boy. See, it's a toss-up because I've got to choose between baseball. I've got to choose between golf. And I've got to choose between the NASCAR.
But you have to choose. gun to your head, you need to choose.
I would say right now it'd be golf for me because I am itching to get out and play.
You're like me, where every sport has its own special place in your heart. So
yes.
It'd be tough for me. I want to hear from Josh. Which three would you be following right now? And of course, given in the frames of time that they're in, obviously some of them aren't even in action. They're just very interesting stories. So give me your three.
Well, I'd have to say for sure, NASCAR, because we're going to be getting into a great stretch of racing here.
Right.
Come on, next month is May, and May is the biggest month of racing.
Yes. Right.
And then baseball, huge fan. And I even love going to see the South Bend Cubs, too. A little minor league action, but, so you got baseball. And then I'd have to say hockey, for sure. Hockey.
There you go.
All right, so there we go. So we got hockey, baseball, and
golf. And the thing is in a month,
and
then the golf goes away and something will take its place. Because,
sure. But we're talking
right now.
We're talking right here, right
yes.
now. And so for Josh, we have NASCAR, which of course I kind of expected that one. And you said also baseball and then hockey.
And hockey.
So I think for me, number one is baseball. Because it is a very I'm the weirdest baseball fan because I love the first month of the season,
and you
then
love the last
and
month.
if you could skip right to September, I'd be happy. I don't know why. I guess maybe because I'm not really a very patient person at all.
See, and I love the season. I love the season.
It is a long way. So, all right. So, but number one is baseball because right now it's brand new, it's fresh, everything is crisp and clean, and it's a brand new thing. So that's number one right now is baseball for me. I would say number two right now would have to be the NBA because it's all winding down. And not that playoff chases like in hockey and baseball can't be interesting, but in the NBA, a lot of times one game is very dynamic. We're talking the difference between 8 and 3 sometimes in the seeding, and not to mention, there's no divisions. It's all done, by record, kind of like in the NHL. But every game means so much in the NBA right now. It's like the last 3 weeks of the NFL season or something. And so my third would honestly, I think would have to be the NFL right now. Just because of all the moves, just because of all the, no sport is as organized and as interesting in their off season as what the NFL is.
Well, I think the NFL has done a tremendous job of making the NFL year round.
Yeah,
it used to be when you and I were growing up, and back even when I was growing up, even before you, the NFL, you had your season, and then you didn't do anything. You heard nothing from them. You heard the draft, and that wasn't as even nearly, as big as it is, not even close. And you had your draft, and then you didn't have anything until July when they'd get together, and the guys would never practice during the off season. You never heard anything.
Yeah.
Now,
once the end of January hit, the Pro Bowl was over, you didn't hear anything about the NFL except for a little blurb at the end of March when they did their draft. And then you wouldn't hear another thing until
August.
August when, not, even after mini camps and training camps, you wouldn't even hear anything until the preseason games actually started and the Hall of Fame game actually started. So,
that was the interesting that back then they used to have the defending champions play the college all-stars.
Right.
Do you remember that?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they stopped that. I think the last year they stopped that was played in Chicago, and they halted the game because of lightning.
Yikes.
And I think the next year, I don't think they had that. I think that was the last year they had it.
That was Mother Nature's way of saying, stop doing this. Right. There was a professional team that actually got beat by a collegiate team at one point. I don't remember who it was now. I'll try and remember that. It was a basketball game. I do remember that much.
Oh, and basketball.
I do remember that much.
Was Kentucky playing?
No.
Okay, I just curious.
You know what? Actually, no, I do remember. It was the Harlem Globetrotters. And they actually got beaten by Michigan State at one point.
When was that?
That was a long time ago.
I guess they gave up playing the Washington Generals.
Well, it was funny, too, because it was like the only time I've ever heard of them playing somebody other than the Washington Generals.
Yeah, I know. Well,
and they got beat by them.
There you go. Well, that's
So
why they don't
you?
play anybody besides the Washington Generals.
Hey, you know what? They're still cool to watch.
Yes,
They're
they
fun to
are.
watch.
Yes, they are.
So we did mention, I didn't mention golf. You happened to.
Yes.
We do have to touch on that. Obviously, that is a huge deal right now.
Oh, my God.
And there was something interesting I saw coming out of yesterday. Our leader right now, Spieth.
Justin Spieth, yes.
Yeah.
Tremendous.
He finished up the day 8 under.
Yes.
All right. Everybody is immediately saying, hey, look, he's got a shot to, do this whole thing. And while he does, he wasn't the guy that scared me yesterday. The guy that would scare me yesterday is Ernie Els shooting 5 under. Here's why I say this. How many Masters has Spieth gone to? This will be his second, right?
I believe
second.
It's either second or third. I think it's a second.
How many Masters has Ernie Els been to?
Oh, he's been to a ton.
23.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, if you say Jordan Spieth rather hit he hit 8 under the first day of the Masters on Thursday.
Yep.
I'm going to say, boy, he shot a good round.
Mm-hmm.
You tell me Ernie Els did that after 23 years experience, I'm going to say, he's dialed in already.
Yeah.
There's a difference with a younger golfer of having a good day and dominating a course as an older golfer. An older golfer doesn't have a good day. He has a good weekend.
Yeah, but here's the difference. You see, today it's not just a one-day thing. It's a 4-day thing.
Sure.
Today, Justin Spieth only followed up his 8 under with a 6 under.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's 14 under.
Right.
Ernie Els followed up his 5 under with a even par. So he's now 9 strokes behind Justin Spieth. That is a long way to go. And I know, yes, you still have 2 rounds to play.
Right. Spieth
showed last year that even as a rookie, the Masters, to him, he got to the playoff. He took it to the end. I think this kid he's something special. Watched him last year and followed him quite a bit. I think he's going to be a very, very special golfer. I don't think he's going to be anything like Tiger-esque or anything like that.
No.
But the one that scares me is Dustin Johnson. Because Dustin Johnson shot his 5 under today. He's at 7 under right now. Mm-hmm. This is a guy that's already won this year.
Right.
He's coming back. He's in probably the best shape that he's been in. After he went off for his rehab type stuff, I think he's a little bit more focused. I think his new family has got him focused, and I think, to be honest with you, that's the guy that I look at him. The other one also, Justin Rose, who's also 7 under, because Justin Rose has won it. Justin Rose has won a couple of different of the majors. So those two are the ones that if I'm looking at someone that's going to be challenging Spieth on Sunday, those are the 2 that I look at.
Well.
Now I know Josh has had his picks out there.
Jump right in here, trust me. You're not going to get
no.
For us to stop, you're not going to get a word in.
You just got to throw in.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, though, the Masters is definitely a great tournament to pay attention to. My buddy from college, long time ago, he got me hooked on it. He's a big Tiger fan, so my condolences to him. But I agree with you, fellas. Jordan Spieth, he's a great golfer, and I'll have to ask you, Rory, who? Yeah. We haven't seen nothing of Rory, so I think Jason Day.
Well, I think the best thing going for Rory this week is he's got one of the One Direction guys carrying his bags. At least he's got the young women vote there.
Yeah, but I'd have to agree with you guys. If anybody had to give somebody like Jordan Spieth a run for his money, it'd have to be somebody like Jason Day. He's been there. This is his 7th Masters. He's finished runner-up twice. He pushed to the playoff with Angel Cabrera and Adam Scott in 2013. So I think if anybody would give Spieth a run for his money, definitely Jason Day.
Now, you had brought up one name in particular, and I think because of the expectations that he brought up the name, now I just drew a complete blank.
Oh, Jason Day?
No.
Rory McIlroy?
Yeah, Rory McIlroy,
yeah,
thank you.
Yeah.
I think with all the expectations that he had brought in to the PGA, and everybody immediately starts crowning him the next Tiger Woods and everything else, how quickly he went away once he started not doing quite as well. It didn't take long for him to just kind of fall into the pack.
He had a hell of a year last year again, though, Steve.
He had a good year last year, but I mean, he's not a Tiger Woods. He's just a very good competitive golfer.
Definitely.
Well, but to be honest with you, are we going to see another Tiger Woods for a while now?
You actually almost asked the question I was about to ask. Do you think we are going to see another player that, now that we've seen McIlroy kind of fall to earth a little bit, do you think we're ever going to get to that point again where we're going to look at another player and go, okay, that is a new Tiger Woods? Or have we finally learned our lesson with this and say, oh, by the way, maybe we should just say, hey, there's a really good golfer in Rory McIlroy, and not go, oh, who's the next Tiger Woods? Maybe we just don't need to worry about who the next one is.
But the thing is what you got to remember is that for years people were saying, are we going to see another Arnold Palmer? And then all of a sudden Jack Nicklaus came along. Then they said, are we going to see another Jack Nicklaus? And then Tiger Woods came along. Now it's, are we going to see another? Yes, we will. Are we going to see it within the next 5 or 10 years? I don't know.
Yeah, that remains to be seen.
But the thing is yes, we will see someone that will revolutionize the game again. I do believe that. Is he out there right now? I don't know. Could Rory McIlroy be that? Yeah, he's still young enough. Could Jordan Spieth be that? Yes, he sure could.
See, I just look at a transcendent figure that a Tiger Woods is, and he's like Michael Jordan in basketball. You know, it's a player that's not, I mean, he's not just the best player on his team or the best player, you know, in his era. A lot of people consider him to be the best player of all time.
The GOAT.
You know, that's there. Not to mention the fact that there are very few players that when you say a sports name or you put out a sport term, they immediately will move to that player. I mean, Tiger Woods. Let's put it this way.
Is Tiger Woods still the best in golf?
Well, no, he's not now. But Michael Jordan's not the best in
No. I mean, when you think of golf, is Tiger Woods the best person ever golfed?
Well, don't ever ask a sports fan. Here's what you do: you ask somebody who doesn't know the sport, who's Tiger Woods.
Okay, but that's unfair.
No, it's not. If I go into Beijing, China, and find somebody who doesn't care about golf, doesn't even know what this side of the planet is, and I somehow figure out how to speak Mandarin to that person and say, "Who is Tiger Woods?" I got a 99% odds that he or she is going to pop up and go, "Oh yeah, Tiger Woods."
And there's a reason for that, and that's called the media, and that's called the internet, and that's called technology.
But that's also called good. But
No, because I put it this way: Michael Jordan was still the best basketball player that has ever played that game, and I don't, he's the best known, but he's still the best player that's played that game. You go to golf, Tiger Woods is not the best player that's ever played golf. Right now, that is still Jack Nicklaus.
Hey, I got news for you. Some people will say Michael Jordan wasn't the greatest to ever play. There are guys that'll say, oh, well, Wilt was still better.
Larry Bird.
There are guys that, they'll argue Larry Bird was better. There are guys that will, that'll argue Dr. J was better.
You can still look at the records and Michael Jordan will still be there.
Right. And not that I don't agree with you, but what I'm saying is there are people out there that will argue the greatest of all time. I'm not talking about just the greatest person in sport. I'm talking about somebody that actually transcends the sport itself, becomes their completely own brand, like Derek Jeter,
or Kobe.
Like Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Mario Lemieux, somebody like Brett Favre. I mean, they're not. They don't even need to be involved in the sport. And they're going to be worldwide no matter what.
And the debate goes
no matter
on
what
and
they
on.
put their name on, the whole world knows who Jordan is.
Yes, they do. And everyone knows who Tiger is. But that's more of what is out there today, the technology of today.
But see, I'm telling you right now,
if the technology has been like this for a year, and that's what I'm saying, in the future, you got to remember the game of golf has changed.
Right.
I mean, because these guys don't play as long as they used to do. They
right.
don't. And the thing is the competition is a hell of a lot better now than it ever was.
Right.
The amount of torque that these guys put on their bodies, their bodies can't handle it.
Sure.
And that's the thing.
Sure.
So I mean, it is going to change, but you will see somebody that will transcend the game again, just like Tiger did.
So the debate continues.
I don't know. I don't know who it would be.
Well, we didn't know Tiger. We didn't know who Tiger would be.
Hold on. I know. I don't know who it would be, and we obviously probably haven't met them yet. But I will guarantee you this. In 30 years, when we get two generations born into this world that have never seen Tiger Woods win a Masters or a title or any major for that matter, and if you look at them and say Tiger Woods, they're going to know who he is. Just like right now, there's an entire generation of kids that are in school that have never seen Michael Jordan pick up a basketball in any professional competition, and you tell them you ask them who Michael Jordan is, and they'll tell you who he is, because the legend, even though they've long since been on the court, the legend is there. I can tell you more about Babe Ruth than probably 90% of the people who've seen him play, only because of the legend, because he transcended the sport.
Just like me and Richard Petty.
Things like that. That's the kind of person I'm talking about. And they're few and far in between. They're generational. We may never see one again. Our kids might, but I don't think we will.
Okay.
That's my thoughts.
Okay.
Well said.
I
don't agree totally with it, but okay. It's well put. I respect it.
You know what?
I respect it. I know.
Hey, you know what it is? It's all about debate.
It is.
That's right.
It is.
We just
that's why they make us.
Yeah, we just turned into First Take.
Well, I understand what you're saying.
I'll be Stephen A.
But
Smith.
I put it this way. I think that it's the day and age. I think if you talk to people will know who Jack Nicklaus is. Mm-hmm. And you go to baseball and you mentioned Babe Ruth. Mm-hmm. Do you think Babe Ruth is known by everyone out there?
If you say Babe Ruth,
if I went out there and I said Reggie Jackson, if I went out there and said Nolan Ryan,
I think
if I said Tom Seaver.
No, you're only going to get baseball fans on Tom Seaver.
I don't know about that, but Nolan Ryan. What about Jackie Robinson?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Hank Aaron.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, and that's where where you talk about that sport. Where is that transcendental person?
Somebody, like I said, somebody that can
right now. Right now. I mean,
you mean
you
like
go to
where are they? Right
I mean, here's the thing. I mean, you say Tiger Woods. Okay, that's it. In football, I would dare say that you're number one. You got a fight between number one, and that's going to be between Tom Brady and Peyton Manning.
Sure.
I think baseball one for Ichiro. You never saw people come in from overseas like China and all that, and then all of a sudden when Ichiro came along, boom, you're starting to get all these different imports. But
I disagree with you. I mean, yes, he did, but I think if you go to a non-baseball fan and say Ichiro, they have no idea who it is.
Right. That's the one. I think that's the point that I'm making. Somebody who's so good that you can compartmentalize them completely away from their sport.
I think there's only two or three that I can really think of that have transcended all the way. Tiger would be one.
Uh-huh.
Michael would be the other one. Now, if you start talking to like I said, if you talk to non-fans, Peyton Manning might be close.
I think Peyton Manning would be right there.
Because Peyton has done so many things outside of football.
Another. I just thought of another one, and it's not for a positive reason at all, but O.J. Simpson.
Yeah, true, because his notoriety outside the field.
But I don't think people would know. I don't think they would know him as a football player.
Oh,
I think they would know him, and that's
non-fans of any sport wouldn't know the people we're talking about. People
possibly
people that aren't.
If you said Michael Jordan, said he was the basketball player.
Yeah.
If you said O.J. Simpson, he was the guy that killed those two people.
Yeah, you know what? You have. I
mean, that's what
I'll give you that one. Yeah, I'll give you that one.
I think
if you're under 40,
I think a couple other ones. Pele.
Very good.
Walter
very
Payton.
Good. Yeah,
there you go.
You know what? Hey, yeah, Walter Payton. I'll tell you what.
I don't know.
I mean, he revolutionized.
No.
Okay.
He did. But
I'll tell you this.
You got to remember, international.
Yeah, I'll tell you this. Walter Payton. Once you get outside the Midwest, I think Walter Payton's going to lose a lot of traction.
Debatable. Yeah.
He's going to lose a lot of traction.
But I think Pele,
I will definitely give you because
I think if you walk through some of the Olympic, I put Michael Phelps.
I have a problem with Olympic athletes outside of the most extreme.
It's still a sport, and swimming,
right?
But
But man,
and the thing is, he is known special. He is known worldwide.
You got to be something so extraordinary
when you win 20 some gold medals.
Or even Usain Bolt.
You know what? I suppose. Yeah, I'll give you that because just like you mentioned, Usain Bolt. You want to go even way back. Look at like Mary Lou Retton. Mm-hmm. She. Because of her performance at the Olympics, it just.
But I don't know if she would transcend. I don't know if she would transcend. I don't know if she would transcend worldwide.
I don't know because she was pretty. 5, 6, 7 years after that, she was still getting mentioned.
She's
TV spots,
very big here. Very big in the United States. Yes.
Yeah.
Now, what about even FloJo?
Worldwide.
Maybe there's a lot of people here who don't know who Florence Griffin Joyner is.
Yeah. Jackie Joyner.
Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson.
No. Muhammad Ali.
Oh, Muhammad Ali too. Mike Tyson, I think, for as much as let's be honest. When Tyson was in his prime,
he was a beast.
People were physically afraid to fight him. At least with Ali, you had Foreman, you had Frazier, you had guys
they had no one in that division. Boxing just went down.
No, that's true, but you had guys during Ali's time that weren't scared to step up and take a shot at him. They wanted to fight him.
That's because at that time,
Holyfield tried to.
But you got to remember, at that time, the class of boxing was the heavyweights, and as it moved on, the class of boxing was not the heavyweights; it became the lighter weights.
Right, and I'm not saying that
Sugar Ray Leonard.
Right, and I'm not saying one is better than another. I'm not saying one fighter is better than another, but I will say this though, as far as making themselves such a just a notable name, I honestly think both fighters, both Ali and
but I think the difference is that I think Ali made his name worldwide, where I think Tyson was more here.
No. His biggest payday wasn't even in this country. It was in Tokyo.
Well, yes.
You want to talk about somebody that the whole world
the thing
knew
is you got
when he was in his prime. When he was in his prime and he was knocking out dudes in 30 seconds.
Okay, but we aren't talking in prime. We're talking right now.
Right.
Remember, you said 30.
Right
30.
People are going to know Mike Tyson is right
take
now?
30 years. You think so?
Have you seen how popular The Hangover is? Absolutely.
Great movie.
Great movie.
I beg to differ with that.
Tyson still has. There's a whole lot of Mike Tyson floating around the World Wide Web right now, and very little of it has to do with boxing anymore. Now it has to do with crazy face tattoos. His one-man show, his love for pigeons, his movie cameos, all stuff like that. That's his big thing now. It's his shtick, and I'm going to give him that. But at the same time, if you say Mike Tyson, I don't care how old you are or how young you are until you hit about the 30 mark.
By the way, if you asked a 15-year-old someone who Mike Tyson was.
Well, they'd be, hey, he's
okay, and then I said, I go, who's okay? But he's not known for boxing,
right?
We're talking about sports now. If I said, who's Muhammad Ali? Well, he's that boxer.
No.
Oh,
he's that guy with Parkinson's that was on the Olympics a couple years ago. That's what they're going to say about Ali.
Here's the thing. What I want you to do, I want you to put up on our website. I want some names. I want people to give us some names of people that have transcended their sport.
Okay.
People that if you said their name,
I'll
25, 30 years after they've been done.
I'll do you one better.
Okay.
And we'll go ahead and throw Twitter in the mix here.
Okay.
Go to Twitter, and I want you to tweet at us. Tweet at TCS Willis, or you can tweet at SP Detterman, or you can tweet Josh Briggs at JBriggsy14. And or is it JBriggsy _?
Oh yeah, the underscore.
Yeah, JBriggsy _14.
We want you to know.
Yeah, tweet to us if you're listening. You want to jump into the conversation. Send us a tweet. Give us a name of somebody who you think. Give us a name, and you shouldn't need to give us a sport, but give us a name of who you think is the most transcendent. And we will debate that. If we get one of those, we'll debate it. I'd love to see somebody else's ideas. Anyhow, we've got we killed a half an hour talking about stuff like that.
Yes, we did,
and which is great. I loved the topic, but we really got to get moving now.
Okay.
When we come back, though, we got Notre Dame basketball. Got just a little bit of a strange turn. Nobody was really looking.
They got a bolt
happen, and I was really surprised. Not as surprised as most, because it does happen from time to time, just not in the women's sport. I'll tell you what it is here in just a little bit, and Steve's got a really good take as to why. We're going to hear about that here in just a little bit too. You're listening to Cheap Seats on XERS Radio.
1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, ready, go.
Hey, tune into XERS Radio and get your funk and groove on with me, Deanna, for a non-stop dance party as we stroll, hustle, bounce, and electric slide through the decades to the old school R&B, disco, funk, and hip-hop hits. If you can get jiggy with it, you better believe you're going to hear it here every Saturday night from 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern. Dance party classics from artists like Aretha Franklin, The Temptations, Shaka Khan, and the Ohio Players are sure to get you moving. And every week, I'll be dusting off some of my old 45s and 12-inch dance LPs to bring you old school jams from artists you haven't heard in a while, like Cameo, The Bar-Kays, M2May, and, well, Milli Vanilli. You know, it's true. Listen, if you're getting ready for a night on the town or having your own personal dance party in your living room, you can pump up the jams every Saturday night with me, Deanna Lynn Bennett, on the X.
Contact Kickstart Studios, audio recording services for all your recording needs. Songwriters, comedians, band demos, commercials, voiceovers, narration, sound effects, background music. Give us a call, 574-274-8046. Kickstart Studios at Comcast.net, or like us on Facebook at Kickstart Studios.
Life is meant to be savored. If you find the reason, Morgan's and the Little Black Dog Tavern in downtown Mishawaka, Indiana will make it special. From the casual European atmosphere to the high-end tavern fare, Morgan's and the Little Black Dog Tavern give you the chance to savor every day. Stop in and savor your day with your choice of a wide variety of drinks, from a classic martini to the best beers from local breweries. Savor your day on the patio, or come in and enjoy a glass of wine with some of our mouth-watering entrees. We're located in the historic Cam Brewery Stable Building in the 100 Center in downtown Mishawaka, Indiana. Call 574-807-0101 for reservations. Like us on Facebook to find out today's food and drink specials, or stop by our website at morgansandlbd.com. Drink in the moments, feast on the memories, savor every day at Morgan's and the Little Black Dog Tavern.
And we are back. Your Cheap Seats on XERS Radio, and for some reason that was on. We're going to shut that off. All right, and just a couple of quick.
Pop?
What
was that? A pop? I heard?
Yes, that was a pop. Snap, crackle, and pop. We're eating Rice Krispies. All right.
Yes.
In the just a couple of quick announcements. So I'm going to go and throw these out there. The Phoenix Grill, Cheers Pub, 5-Star Dive Bar, Rock Sports Bar and Grill, all great associates with this station, and they all have awesome events. This weekend is going to be once again another awesome weekend. We got at the Phoenix tonight. If you're going out, you can head down there, check out Top Secret. Saturday, Art and the Artichokes is coming up now. Cheers Pub, you want to head over there. Sucker Punch is on Friday. One-Eyed Doll in downtown Brown on Saturday too. So get your groove on there Saturday. And then 5-Star Dive Bar, of course, the Unit is going to be out there tonight. And Smash Kings on Saturday, so you can go check them out. Also on Saturday, there's a fundraiser from 4 p.m. to midnight for Isaac Montgomery at the Edwardsburg American Legion, and there are going to be some bands playing there. An excellent Bob Seger cover band called Night Moves. We got.
It's got to be a great Night Moves. Come on.
Yeah, members only is going to be there. This is 198.4 Retro Radio. It's a fantastic event, man. You got to get out there. That's going to be at the Edwardsburg American Legion. Okay, this week has been quite a week for the Notre Dame women. Obviously, they won their Final Four match and got to play UConn, take another crack at them for the national championship. Of course, that fell short. But then they got another blow thrown at them just a couple of days later. They ended up losing a young lady, a junior. What was her name? Loyd?
Jewel Loyd.
Jewel Loyd.
It's not just any lady. This is arguably the second best player in all of in women's college basketball this year.
Right.
This is their star player.
Now, when they lost her, they didn't just lose her.
No.
She's actually declaring to go to the WNBA draft. She's leaving school early, which immediately, here's
a question I have: How many women have left college early to go to the WNBA now?
I tried to look that up anyway.
I've got an answer for you.
I did not find. I couldn't find any relevant names.
Candace Parker left. Candace Parker left early. Only one until this year, and there's a woman up in Minnesota that's leaving early, and Jewel Loyd's leaving early.
So there have been
three
in the 17-year history of the WNBA. There have been 3.
Yep, and 2 of them this year.
Left early, and 2 of them were this year. Now, we were discussing before the show why she would have left. Because let's face it, this took everybody off guard. Our college basketball analyst was shocked by this, Todd Burlage, and he's going to join us later, and I'm sure we're going to be talking about this. But he asked me, he goes, "Why would she leave?" And I thought, man, the only thing I could think of is she is top draft stock. She's predicted to be one of the top 3 picks in the WNBA draft, which, by the way, would be 4 years in a row Notre Dame has brought out a lottery pick.
Yes.
And that is a record for the WNBA for a college, 4 years in a row. That, I think, was a major factor. I also thought maybe pressure to go out and get her money now might have had something to do with it. Now, that's purely speculation because I haven't spoken with any members of her family. I don't really know any of that. However, Steve had a very interesting take, and I'm gonna let you expand on that.
Well, I mean, the thing is you talk, her draft stock, it's not going to get any higher. I mean, when she goes, between 1 and 3, and more likely she'll be either second or third pick.
Right.
Here's the thing, though. I mean, in the WNBA itself, they have a salary cap, a team salary cap of $878,000. That's for 15 players.
Right.
So your average salary in the league is $72,000.
Right.
Now the difference between 1 and, let's say she drops next year to number 4 or number 5. Okay, so she's gone from maybe $72,000 down to $65,000.
Right.
I don't see that. I mean, it's not like she's leaving school for $1 million contracts like the guys like Jaleel Okafor, who might be either the first or second pick this year.
Right.
He's going to have a contract of what, 16, 20 million?
Oh, it's going to be somewhere in
Jewel
that
Loyd will
range,
get a contract of maybe a 4-year contract or 5-year contract for maybe $750,000.
Right.
Maybe.
Right.
Maybe that high. I mean, it's not like we're talking a lot of dollars and cents. So, I mean, I threw the money out right away, and I said, there's got to be something else that's going on here.
Right.
I mean, I read in the paper and found, and they said, Muffet McGraw was upset because she said her players were coming off the court and they looked like they expected to lose to Connecticut. And she was upset that she just really just chewed their tails off after the game because there was no fight, there was no fire. And she says, well, the only one that had fight and fire was Jewel Loyd. And you're going, well, that's great. Now, you got to remember also, this was not the year that Notre Dame women's basketball team was supposed to be good. This was supposed to be a rebuilding year.
Right.
All the way rebuilding to the national championship game again. Next year was supposed to be the year.
Right.
So why does your number 1 player, probably going to be next year number 1 or number 2 in the country again, leave with 1 year left to go on such a sunny, prospect of this next year is going to be their best year. They've got some great players coming in. I think it has more to do with something else that we're not hearing, either a problem with her relationship with the other players, or something within that realm. I don't know. It has to be something else. I just don't see, the benefits of leaving right now, the money and all. I mean, granted, you're throwing away a Notre Dame scholarship. You're throwing away a Notre Dame degree. I'm not sure how far she is. Maybe she has that degree finished. But I cannot see leaving right now, how that's going to improve her stock, worsen her salary or whatever. It just doesn't make sense. There has to be something else there. I mean, I don't see it.
I tell you what, fellas, I mean, there's a theory that I always live and die by in sports, and that is what you don't know, you don't know. It can be applied to anything. And like what you said, Steve, we might not know why Jewel Loyd wants to jump to the pros right away. I mean, it could be, she sees a promising career, she sees the money, or maybe she did, have the degree done early. I don't know, but yeah.
I just think I think somewhere along the line, either, she showed the fire, her teammates didn't. Maybe there's a discord between her and her teammates. Yeah. And that's something that, has said it just got to the point where I cannot play with them anymore. I'm not, whatever I do next year, it's not going to be as good as this year because, maybe she's lost it. Maybe she lost the respect in the locker room because her last 4 or 5 games, she didn't do anything on the court. I mean, arguably, those were the last 4 or 5 games were her worst games of the season.
Abysmal.
Right.
So I got a feeling, and maybe Todd can shed some light on this because, this was something, I sent you the article right away. I said, I didn't see this coming. I really didn't.
Right.
Because everything that was talked about all year from the beginning of the year all the way through the end, this was a season early for this basketball team, for this team. They did to do is what they were doing. And everything was like, oh my God, what is this team going to do next year? I mean, is it maybe it's too much pressure? Yeah. It's too much pressure that all of a sudden next year's supposed to be great. And my God, I mean, maybe I'm not the person that I thought I was. They don't need me as much as they do anymore. You got to figure they kept it within 10 points, and she had a horrible game.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think the biggest shock for me was the fact that they were so close.
Yes.
And just like you said, this wasn't supposed to be
here's the thing.
year.
That's what we hear is that they were so close. Were they?
Well, I mean, no. I mean,
that's yeah. I mean, no. Yeah. Oh, they were still. Oh, okay. But we also heard how tight knit this group was too.
Well, yeah, we did hear that, but you know what? I never buy into that totally because
it's personality.
Who puts stuff like that out?
It's all.
But who puts out the stuff that? Oh yeah, boy, they're
your PR and your coach.
Yeah, they're a tight knit group. Yeah. Oh, they're playing like a band of brothers out there.
Your PR and your coach.
Yeah, exactly. The PR people are going to put that out.
I tell you what,
the coaching staff's going to put that out.
Last year, if you saw how close they were after Natalie Achunwa got hurt, they tried to play, but I think that's what probably took the wind out of their sails.
Well, they didn't have. Natalie Achunwa was a terrific leader, and she was able to get everyone going. And one thing that they said about this team is that they didn't have anyone like that. That they went through the whole season. They didn't have anyone that would step up and really, put the fires to the irons, so to say, and get these, get people focused and get people going. So I don't know. I mean, there has to be something else with this. The money, I don't see the money. I mean, right. you can make as much as she's going to do in her whole contract in 1 year with a Notre Dame degree. I mean, honestly, I mean that is worth a lot of money.
Yeah, after you started going over the rookie pay scale, you kind of sold me on the idea of it not being about money. I think.
Well, here's the thing on the rookie pay scale.
Yeah,
rookies have a minimum salary of $38,000. Average player salary is $72,000.
Right. So
there are just a few. Veterans with about 4 years of experience make just over $100,000 a year. That's
right. So
four
we're
years. I mean, we're not talking.
We're not talking millions of dollars or anything like that.
No, and she's not going to be a Skylar Diggins. It's going to get that. I mean, Skylar got it more on her personality. And she was.
Well,
I think
Dogg
also
endorsement.
I think the whole. I mean, her whole marketing for herself was tremendous.
Right. It really was.
Jewel Loyd hasn't been anywhere near that.
That is for sure. So, I mean, we'll find out here in roughly about an hour when Todd joins us if he's heard anything too, as far as the whats and the whys. I mean, this information is just a little over 24 hours old.
Yeah, but so I mean, but to touch upon what they did. I mean, a tremendous year by the girls. I mean, I thought the game was good. I mean. It was a little disappointed because, and I'll say it, Jewel Loyd put up some shots that I just said, wow, you really rushed that. That was a nice air ball. Here's this one. And, a lot of them I thought were rushing their shots instead of taking it straight to the hole.
Very desperate.
Yeah, I mean, and it was throughout the game.
Yeah,
and that's what's scary. It wasn't like they were down 20 points. They were down 10 or they were down 6, and they're throwing up shots. You're just going, why?
Yeah,
it's easily won.
Yeah, it's funny because a lot of the analysis that I heard post game, I heard a lot of Notre Dame was playing with a sense of urgency. They were playing with a sense of urgency. And I thought to myself, you know what? That wasn't a sense of urgency. That was a sense of desperation. The entire game, they just looked like they were afraid.
I thought they looked scared.
Yeah, if they were afraid that if they didn't throw up 70 points or 60 points or something like that right away, that they were just going to get trounced.
Well, it was just the shot selection overall, those two, Steve.
Well, if you think about it, if you've ever played basketball, when you get down to the last couple of minutes or something like that, you know that you got nothing left, as far as time goes.
Right.
It's now or never. Sometimes your shot selection isn't the greatest. You start looking at the lower percentage stuff, A, because it's more open, and B, because you're rushing and you're not thinking straight because you're so worried that, you just can't think straight. And it just felt like, and I could be wrong, but it felt like that's how they were playing.
And it did, and it looked like it. I mean, they, you saw some people, I saw a Raymer get a rebound. She's 8 feet out. Instead of passing, all of a sudden she just got it, and she just turned and just tossed it up, and you're going,
yeah,
wow, that wasn't a good shot. That
Yeah.
wasn't a good shot. I mean, you were way off on that one, and then came down and did it again, and you're going, where was the pass?
Yeah, I remember that play, and I thought I think I even said aloud, I was like, you just got a fresh shot clock. Kick the ball out and reset the offense. Yes. What are you doing? And totally.
An 8-foot jump hook. I said, wow, I think that's something I would be doing. I'm sorry.
Even Kareem Abdul-Jabbar called her afterwards and like, hey,
skyhook, baby, skyhook,
yeah.
5 feet
Gotta
away.
Use
That's
the skyhook.
But I mean, it was just. I mean, I watched that game and I thought they played well. It's just they just looked afraid. They looked like they. And I think Muffet said it the best. I think they looked like they expected to get beat, and they were surprised that they were in the game.
Right.
I think it was just, wow, we're still here. Why are we here?
And so now, as a result, UConn makes it a nice even 10.
Yes.
10 national titles.
Gino
Can we honestly?
Gino the Wizard.
I know.
I mean, 10 titles in how many years has it been now? 10 titles in what? 15 years?
15 or 20 years, yeah.
Yeah, 15, 20. Anyhow.
But I mean,
can we honestly say that any other team is a bigger dynasty than what UConn ladies are right now?
Tennessee, I mean, I think they tie Tennessee for the most championships?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I think those are the two. I mean, I think Tennessee was the one that set the dynasty for women's basketball. They were women's basketball. Now that mantle's been thrown over to Connecticut.
Yeah, maybe not greatest ever dynasty, but definitely greatest dynasty.
I mean between Pat Summitt, what Pat Summitt did down there.
Oh yeah. Well, Pat Summitt, and boy, I mean, you want to talk about somebody who had she been healthy, I could have seen her easily coaching another 20 years.
Oh yeah,
down in Tennessee.
Oh yeah,
and she could have probably put a team together that could rival UConn.
Now here's the question to you ask. Which coach could you stand which one could you stand, Pat Summitt or Gino Auriemma? Because both of them were.
Boy,
I know.
I want to talk about
a fiery bunch.
I mean, it's like, wow.
That is a fiery bunch. That is for sure.
I mean, those two were, boy, they're not my fan favorites. How's that?
Definitely not a good cop, bad cop thing between the two of them. It's both bad cops.
Yeah. Here's a good debate we'll have later on when we're eating dinner. Who is the greatest coach in universal college basketball, John Wooden or Gino Auriemma?
Oh, John Wooden. I'm not even
that gets a pounder.
That's John Wooden.
Okay. Boy, oh boy. Because I mean, you take a look at some of the coaches. I mean, you say John Wooden right away, but what about like Dean Smith? What about?
No, but he just said between the two.
Oh, between those two?
Yeah, between those two.
Between John Wooden and Gino Auriemma.
10 titles versus 10.
John Wooden, I would go.
Yeah, I'd say Wooden just because of the fact that let's just go ahead and put this out there. there's a reason why 4 1 seeds make it to the women's title every year.
Because they're only like about 10 really good teams.
Yeah,
no brainer.
And
I mean,
10 really good teams is actually kind of stretching it.
There's only like about 10 good teams and about 4 or 5 really good teams.
Right. And when John Wooden was winning all those men's titles, you still had a lot of really good basketball teams out there. It just, it wasn't just, a couple of teams in California like the
Well, I mean, when they first started the dynasty, I mean, he really cleaned up on the recruiting. He really did that.
Right.
When they got towards the end with the Bill Walton era and that I thought that was his best. Those were his best years when they had that long streak.
Right.
Because I think that's when college basketball started to get a little bit more spread out a little bit more. What's the word I'm thinking of?
Well, I think
there was a little bit more parity.
Yeah, there was definitely more parity.
But back when Alcindor played, when you had Wilkes and you had all,
it was a lot more mainstream. I mean, college basketball was not really mainstream until you hit the mid and late 1960s.
Yes.
And then it really started to get mainstream because the NBA started to pick up, and so you started seeing guys
but that's where I said I think that's where I think he did his best coaching.
Yeah,
was back in that time era. And
because there was more parity, I think it was even a bigger challenge for him to be that good, because then you started getting, you started seeing smaller schools even.
Yeah, Indiana State.
Indiana State was one in the early and mid 70s that
Valparaiso, Butler.
Butler.
VCU.
Yeah, totally. And these
Bradley made it for a while there.
Right, and these teams, if college basketball wouldn't have been mainstream, these teams wouldn't even have a shot at getting these kind of recruits. So I'd say.
I mean, look at where Gonzaga is right now.
Oh, the Zags are. Yeah,
I mean, if you take a look, I mean, this, that was a small school that got in, and now they've been doing it for years. They're getting the recruit. I mean, they can still get the recruit. It's like Boise State in football.
They're perennial contenders.
Yeah, and I mean, you don't know why. You're like, oh my God, that's such a little area. Their recruiting base is awful, and they have to, oh, by the way, compete with a lot of major schools around them.
So what NIU's done in football.
Right.
I mean,
how do you do that well when you've got all these big pounders around you and you're still – you're still dragging in the recruits. So,
I look at Boise State. I mean, you're in the middle of Idaho. There's nothing. I look at NIU, and you're middle of Northwestern, Illinois, Wisconsin. I mean, you got all those schools right there.
Oh, I mean,
you're right in the middle of Big Ten country.
If you look at NIU, you got the Wisconsin Badgers right there, Northwestern within 50 miles of you,
and Illinois pulling the top Illinois recruits, and you're doing what you can with the thirds and fourths and fifths.
Yeah, and oh, by the way, Notre Dame is just 2 hours away.
Right.
Michigan State about another hour further. You go the other way, you got Iowa. Yep. You got Minnesota just north of you. I mean, they're surrounded.
Yeah,
literally surrounded.
And the thing is I sit there and I watch what they've done with that football program. You go, wow. I mean, because you're getting third, fourths, and fifths.
Right.
I mean, you're not getting the top guys, and yet you put out a product every single year.
Right.
I mean,
it shocks the heck out of you. It really does.
And that's why I look at like that team. I look at the Boise States. I look at the TCUs. The TCU has come up a little bit more than what it was.
TCU really surprises me in football, and the reason why I say I don't know how we got to football, but we did.
Well,
TCU really surprised me.
We were talking college.
Hey, you know what? All things go back to football.
Everything for you and I come back to football. Come on,
absolutely.
You know it.
Oh, absolutely. But TCU really surprises me because think about this. Number one, you are in football country.
Right.
When you're in the South and the Southeast,
when you're in Texas,
football country.
Texas,
and you're in Texas, you're
Bama,
definitely
baby.
Hey, Friday Night Lights,
football country.
Friday Night Lights,
and right there, you got Texas and you got Texas A&M, and oh, by the way, you got Oklahoma just across the border.
Oh yeah,
you got LSU right around the corner. I mean, dude, you got so many great football schools
you still got,
right
I mean,
there.
and you still have Houston. You still have all these other schools.
SMU
is right there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like.
But I mean, I was just mentioning the biggies.
Well, Arkansas,
and Arkansas is not too terribly far away, and
No.
that is such a breeding ground for talent.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's almost like TCU gets leftovers, but boy, what great leftovers!
What's like
They're
Florida?
leftovers.
I mean,
the
between
leftovers are
Texas,
filet mignon.
it's between Texas and Florida. I mean, you talk about the hotbeds.
Yeah. Florida's another one. Oh God!
Look how good UCF is.
Miami, Florida State, UCF. I mean, you walk right down the line there.
Right, and then just go across the border.
South Florida's done well. South Carolina.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got Clemson.
Yeah, the Eastern Seaboard is starting. I mean, from
that's when you start talking SEC and you go. There you go.
Well, from Virginia down, the Eastern Seaboard is alive and well in their football breeding. It definitely is. But getting
did we just start on this with we start with Jewel Loyd and we end up with college football. Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
Thanks, Jewel.
That is the way this eclectic show goes.
Good. No, and the thing is I wish Jewel Loyd all the best. I mean, for what she did for 3 years for Notre Dame basketball, for the women's basketball program, was tremendous. I mean, she basically dug them out of the Skylar Diggins years, because Skylar Diggins she transcended college basketball, even though, they finished runner-up, 2-3 years there. She transcended basketball, and to have someone like Jewel Loyd there to pick it up and continue with that program, to do what they do year in, year out. I mean, I have all the respect for her.
Absolutely. And I hope she does well in WNBA. I'm sure she will, because she is a great talent. Anyhow, when we come back, I guess we're going to have to talk a little baseball at some point, but
yes, we do.
But we got a Fast Four coming up, and we've got to get to that.
Well, we also got to talk South Bend Cubs.
Yes,
South Bend Cubs opened up last night.
Yes, well, and we got Todd Burlage coming up. I think we just labeled the entire itinerary for hour 2.
There you go.
There we go, and you're going to kick it off right here in just a little bit. You're listening to Cheap Seats on XCRS Radio.
What in the wide world of sports is going on here?
Hey, this is Maximus and the Bartender. Make sure you're checking out our brand new show, bringing sports talk to you right here live on Extras Radio.
Tune in every Tuesday night, 6 p.m. for all the latest sports news. NFL, baseball, basketball, hockey, you name it, we got it.
And make sure you check Extras Radio out on Facebook as well.
You can get there through XERSradio.com.
Hey, ladies, tired of the same old story? Getting promised all this big meat, only to find out it's just the same old average helping? You need someone that can satisfy all your cravings.
You know what she needs? She needs some Scoobies.
Scoobies? Oh, yeah.
Scoobies at 223 North Main Street in downtown Mishawaka can satisfy all your cravings with freshly made subs, pasta, sandwiches, and even homemade cheesecake.
Cheesecake, too? I think I'm in love.
And you'll be in love with the great menu that Scoobies has to offer, with specialties like their very own chicken, bacon, and ranch sub. And right now, for the summertime, Michiana's best tasting Chicago dog, featuring a quarter-pound all-beef hot dog.
That's more than a mouthful.
And if you need something to wash down all that meat, mention you heard this advertisement on XCRS Radio and get a free drink with any purchase.
Ladies, you won't be disappointed with this 7-inch.
That's Scoobies, downtown Mishawaka, home of the biggest 7-inch around.
Option 5, located in Mishawaka, Indiana, specializes in hand-built boutique guitar effects pedals. Option 5 has been producing the highest quality pedals right here in northern Indiana since 2002, and they continue to create original, non-copy designs today. Option 5 is not simply tweaking popular pedals and then slapping their name on them. They're producing groundbreaking effects designed for guitarists of all styles. And Option 5 doesn't just build cool pedals. They provide top-notch repair service as well. Option 5 repairs pedals and PA equipment, can modify and retube amplifiers, and service or repair Hammond organs and Leslie speakers. If you're looking for the highest quality effects pedals and the best in repair and customer service, check out Option 5 in Mishawaka at 1126 East Jefferson. Give them a call at 574-255 888-848-6539 or online at option5effects.com. That's option5fx.com. Option 5. Let tone abound.
And we are back. You're tuned into the Cheap Seats on XERS Radio. Of course, Hour 2. And Hour 2 is brought to you by Rock Sports Bar and Grill. For those that go to Rocks, we salute you. It's also brought to you by Scooby Subs. It is springtime again. Scooby Subs they have all of your great snacking goods, from their Chicago dogs to mini pizzas. They've got it all. Got to go check it out and let them know that you heard it right here on XCRS Radio. So the tweets that we had earlier,
yes,
there was one in particular that I saw here. This one, I don't know, maybe not. I had one person tweet in, what about Doug Flutie or maybe Jim Kelly?
No.
Now, Doug Flutie.
No.
I think the only reason why Doug Flutie, Jim Kelly. No, I'm sorry, Jim Kelly.
I love Jim Kelly. I love Doug Flutie.
Great guy. Bills faithful would know him. Dallas Cowboys would know him as well for being the quarterback that they beat. Several times.
Several times.
But Doug Flutie, I think the only reason I would even give him a mention, and I don't think he would be transcendent. The only reason I think he would get a mention is because the lore, like with the Hail Mary from Boston College, and all of the periphery that kind of went into his time as a Buffalo Bill, obviously with the Flutie Flakes and everything else, so he was a very marketable player.
Right.
The problem is once you get beyond NFL fans, you ask them who's Doug Flutie, they're still going to say, I don't know. I saw him on a Wheaties box, and I think they changed the name of the Wheaties.
Okay, but again, it's we're talking about people that would transcend not just the United States, but worldwide,
right?
And I don't. Right. I mean,
you're hard pressed to find an NFL player that's going to be able to do that. There are a few.
Well, I mean, the only ones I can think of, I can think of Peyton,
right?
And then
maybe Tom Brady,
and I would think with Tom Brady.
Tom Brady mainly because of all of his. Outside the field, being in the paparazzi and stuff, especially with the relationship to Gisele Bündchen and stuff like that. Yeah.
I mean, the other one I could think of might be like a Deion Sanders.
I could see that maybe. Bo Jackson, maybe.
Think
maybe Bo Jackson?
No, I don't. No? I don't think Bo didn't have a long enough career.
Yeah, that's true.
I would think maybe like Joe Montana, possibly.
Possibly, yeah.
I'm trying to.
I think Joe Montana. Yeah, the more I think about it, I think Joe Montana would.
I think he might. But football, I think is since it's not a national, or I should say, an international sport.
Yeah.
And that's where the name of Pele came to me, because I'm thinking of football. Think of football.
Right.
And that's where Pele came up, and everybody knows Pele.
Right. And you have to understand football in the grand scheme of sports history, football is a child compared to a lot of the sports that are played in Europe. I mean, for God's sake, baseball has been played for 400 years.
Another name, David Beckham.
Like so,
I mean, because Beckham. Everybody knows him. They have a movie, Bend It Like Beckham.
Yeah, everybody knows who David Beckham is. Yeah, I'll give it to him.
Yeah.
All right. Anyhow, we've got to get.
I know we got to get the. We got to do the fast forward because I am excited. We have.
Yeah.
What do you do with the? I'm going to ask Josh right now. Last week, NASCAR had a week off. I mean, we know, in football we have the week off, and the guys, they relax a little bit and they come back and they do. What does a race car driver do on a week off?
Well, I out of what I've seen, Kevin Harvick, he likes to play with his kid. But, he's got his 3-year-old son, Keelan, and they just like to hang out and play cars, this, that, and the other. But, in the casual fan, I talked to a few fans, and, they just treat it like any other weekend. And
well, no, it was Easter, so they enjoyed their Easter. They didn't have to watch a game.
Pig out, eat a lot of food, and so, yeah, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. So, but, yeah, we're back to Texas now. It's time to go.
Well, let's go into it. I mean, because we're back hot and heavy in the NASCAR, right. And this week we move on to Texas.
That's right, and it's Texas, the Duck Commander 500 tomorrow night, Saturday night, and rumor has it, guys, Uncle Si is going to be in the building. Now, for those,
that'd be for all you Duck Dynasty fans
and
out there.
I'm not a Duck Dynasty fan, so
yeah,
never watched it. So, honestly.
I just got sick of all the marketing and everything else that went with it. So,
but I tell you what, though,
but it's huge.
It's gonna be good. I know last year the Robertson gang, they actually handed out the trophy to Joey Logano when he won. So I think that's kind of a cool,
I think that'd
cool
be
marketing
really cool.
thing.
Yeah. That's neat.
But without further ado, let's get into it. I also noticed that Tony Stewart is going back dirt track racing. How about that, fellas? I mean,
dirt track racing.
Yeah.
But not you were telling me, not the way we would think.
Exactly. There's a little catch here. It's not going to be Tony Stewart driving. He's going to be on top of the pit box. His crew chief in the Cup Series, Chad Johnston, is going to be the driver.
He's just going to tell him when to hit the guy in the dirt.
Sorry.
But
I'm sorry.
But I don't know. I mean, they've had their struggles, and Tony actually. It's been known that the sprint car racing has helped Tony his racing in the Cup Series, and he does better. So I want to, real quick, what do you guys think? Do you think this is a good move for Tony?
I think it would take a little pressure off of him. I mean, to be on the other side of it for a while. I mean, yes, I understand he loves dirt track racing. He loves it. Yeah. But this would be something where he could be involved with it without being actually on the track.
Yeah. What do you think, Steve?
I think Tony Stewart has always been about racing. I mean, Tony Stewart he's said before, it doesn't matter if it's go-karts, if it's RC cars or NASCAR or Formula One or whatever. He's racing it. If it's got wheels, he wants to race it. And for Tony Stewart, just being a part of the team is probably that's probably enough to get that racing fix without even having to get behind the wheel. To me, the fact that he wants to be in the pit box and not behind the wheel, though, that tells me that there's something in his head.
I mean, do you think it's his?
There.
I mean, do you think this is his way of getting back into dirt racing without actually being out there driving the car?
I'd say it's kind of a way to kind of give back to the sport. I mean, everybody knows what he went through last year. But I think that if he can get back into that and kind of bond with his crew chief a little bit, I mean, everybody's seen the movie Days of Thunder. The driver crew chief bond, they got together, they talked. And then what happens after that? They start winning a lot of races together. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I hope that this will help him. I mean, we're coming to a great stretch of races where he typically runs good at. So I wish the best for him. And we'll see what happens. But, yeah, for my Facebook and Twitter followers, let me know what you think about Tony going back to dirt. And is this a good move or bad move? But also, we also talked about Tiregate last week. Ryan Newman's team got busted big time. 75 driver points, and that will take Newman down to 26 in the standings now.
How do you make that up?
I mean, he's going to have to do everything he did, finish top 5. I mean, last year, you guys saw in the chase. They figured it out, finished top 5 every week and finish where they're supposed to be lead laps. And then you could be in the conversation. But I tell you,
that's a long way to climb.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're going to find out this week, April 16th, when the appeal board acts. Because Richard Childress, the car owner, they went before the appeals board. and they pled their case, speaking about this, that, and the other. But
has there been precedent? Has there been success in doing the appeals?
No, not to my knowledge. But because
you can appeal, but forget it.
I mean, like we said in that last week, NASCAR, they hold the ball, they call balls and strikes. So, I mean, I don't see any appeals being removed.
Well, do you think after the basic fiasco with Bush, that maybe we might see something rescinded a little bit more?
Yeah,
because they have a little mud on their face with that.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, they did kind of make themselves look bad about that before.
I think the difference there, though, is with Kurt Busch, it was off the track. They didn't have all the information, and they were going off of the common narrative at the time. This is cut and dry. They have every bit of information they need, and it's not like a week later they're going to come back and go, "Oh, by the way, he didn't cheat." Sorry.
But how much do you want to penalize one of your top drivers?
It depends on how massive the rule is. If they want to really enforce the rule,
right? Well, I understand. I understand because there are rules in every sport.
Right.
But sometimes those rules are kind of bent a little bit and kind of massaged a little bit depending on who it was.
Well, I'll tell you what. And Josh, we'll see if you back me up on this. I think NASCAR is one of those sports where they don't particularly care who the driver is. The integrity of NASCAR itself and the integrity of the sport itself kind of supersedes the driver. And I mean, we've seen that. We've seen that with stiff penalties to guys like Mark Martin and guys like Rusty Wallace back in the day. They were penalized driver points. They were penalized, the owners were penalized ownership points. I remember Joe Gibbs Racing one year, one of their drivers was almost removed from the Winston Cup Championship because he ended up getting knocked right towards the tail end of the year. It was a very unpopular move, but NASCAR did it anyway because they felt the integrity of NASCAR superseded the popularity of specific drivers. Am I wrong about this at all?
Well, I'd have to back you up, Steve. I mean, look at 2004, Dale Earnhardt Jr. He won a race at Talladega, and what's the first thing he does? He cusses in a TV interview. Obviously, it was the heat of the moment. I understand that, but you just cost your team 25 points, so it basically screwed you in the championship. So I definitely agree with you, Steve.
Yeah, and so that being the case, I think I'm pretty much saying it's a good bet. The appeals process is going to come up no good for Ryan Newman and his crew. So let's talk about Texas. Let's talk about Texas. Give me your fast forward. Let's do this thing.
Okay, well, first off, a quick key to winning a 500 mile an hour, a 500 mile race.
If you go 500 mile an hour.
Oh, I wish.
Well, if you go 500 miles an hour, I got news for you. You're going to win.
But in a big race like this, you got to protect your engine. That's my only key right there. Yep. Because, your engine could go, it could go like that. So without further ado, the Fast Four, and this one's going out to a mentor of mine, Steve Burns. He's in the hospital. Yes. He's fighting cancer right now. So take a Steve selfie in honor of him. So prayers be with you and your family. So let's go with Kevin Harvick. I think he's going to get back on the board this week. He's never won a Cup race at Texas, but his numbers speak by themselves on the mile-and-a-half tracks. And I think he will definitely be a player. We discussed Carl Edwards last week. Mm-hmm. He's won 3 races at Texas in his career.
Bingo to you.
And, it's been a while since we've seen a backflip. I mean, who wants to see a backflip this weekend? I sure do.
Spider-Man crawl.
So I think Carl Edwards is going to be my pick still, because not only do I miss the backflip, but, Joe Gibbs Racing is on a roll. So I think Carl Edwards is going to win. So that's my pick, boys. So we'll see if I can make that my 4th one of the year. And, we always love to throw Martin Truex Jr. onto the wagon.
Yep.
And he has been fast. He was fastest in the practice this afternoon. And, he's taking his same car from Las Vegas he finished second with. He led a lot of laps, so he could be a serious player. And, yes, David Reagan still subbing for Kyle Busch. Finished third last week at Martinsville. They're right on the cusp. They're so close. But can he do it? That remains to be seen.
How about Logano to come back again?
Well, he's the defending champion of this race. I think he will be another threat. But I think those four, I think they're definitely going to be the players.
No Jimmy Johnson.
No, he did win last November.
Generally, I mean, that's my understanding anyway. He generally fares well on the long courses, the big long, big time courses where definitely things like taking care of your engine, keeping the engine cool, keeping the tires as fresh as possible seems to be, something he and his crew can generally work out, especially towards the end of the race where it's most critical. And I'm surprised you didn't mention him. Is there?
Yeah, I mean, it's just not been his year. I mean, he did win at Atlanta. That's a 1.5 mile track, a sister track to Texas. But I just don't know. I mean, Joe Gibbs Racing, you gotta throw some positive vibes their way because I think they've got onto something here, and I really think that Carl Edwards can do it. So
kind of stand with the hot hand. Then.
Oh yeah, I mean, because doggone it, I want to see a backflip. So.
I got a question for you. One name we haven't brought up all this year, and you and I, we actually mentioned the name earlier, Danica Patrick. Oh. I mean, this is her second full year in NASCAR.
Yeah, actually, she's been in since 2012.
Is this is her third full year? Okay. I thought last year was her first full year.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, she's she had a good run at Martinsville.
Right.
I'll give her that. She finished 7th, but she and her boyfriend Ricky Stenhouse Jr., a fellow driver, they're kind of handling their struggles in a different manner now. I mean, they're trying not to take it out on each other.
2,000-pound weapons.
Yeah, I know. But I mean. She's 15th in points right now, which is good. This has been her best season statistically.
Okay,
but can she continue that? That remains to be seen. So, I want to debate
where does she stack up as far as a driver? I mean, when we talk about people transcend, I mean, she is one that has transcended. And stop it. Stop it right now.
I'm sorry. Cue 12-year-old thoughts.
I understand that. Where does she stack up? Come on. Really?
But the debate.
Really? You went there? You went there?
I didn't even say it.
There?
You're the one who
I understand.
Stop it.
I mean, this is another person that's transcended the sport, even though she really hasn't won a lot.
I wouldn't even know that she transcended. I think she just happens
for women.
To be,
No. Yes,
she's got two things to her credit. Number one, she's a female driver in a male-dominated sport. Number two, she's coming off an international racing league where she was one of only a handful of female drivers, and she was successful at that level.
And she finished top 5. What she finished? What, third in the Indy?
Oh yeah,
she's done well.
Right, and I'm not saying that she hasn't done well in NASCAR, but what I'm saying is she kind of came into NASCAR already popular.
But she was the woman in a men's sport.
Right. But this isn't like Jeff Gordon or Dale Earnhardt Jr. who comes in and nobody knows who they are. Danica Patrick came in with more fanfare than any NASCAR drivers ever come into the sport with.
Oh yeah,
but she's blazing her own trail.
But I'm saying, I mean, I'm not just talking just in NASCAR alone, but I mean, she's transcended just racing because of what she's done as a female in a man's sport.
Yeah, I will give you that. To a certain extent, she has definitely transcended to the point to where her name is out there.
Well, I mean, if you watch the advertisements, you've seen. I mean, if you take a look at the marketable people in NASCAR, she's probably number one.
Oh, she has to be for sure. And then Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Right,
definitely.
If you've watched any GoDaddy commercial at all,
well, it's just not just.
Oh yeah,
but it's not just GoDaddy. I mean, she's in everything.
Yeah, hey, I'm just throwing it out there.
You're just stacking it up, aren't you?
Yeah. Well,
do you want me to get my phone going again?
No. I'd rather you not.
So, anyways, I mean, her third year in, is this something that we're going to maybe – I mean, she's 15 right now. I mean, I saw that she was top 20, and that's why I wanted to bring this up. Is this something that we're going to see her continue to improve, or do you think this is as good as it's going to get?
I honestly she's done things in NASCAR that a woman has never done. She has never finished in the top 10 this much. She just broke Janet Guthrie's record of top 10s in a career last week at Martinsville. Can she win? It would have, I even discussed with my dad. It would have to come at Daytona or Talladega because that's where she was basically baptized into NASCAR, was the super speedways.
Right.
So what about the Brickyard?
Montoya, Juan Pablo Montoya, he's the only guy who really proved that he could cross over and compete between the two.
I got to tell you, the super speedways, really, if you're coming from like IndyCar racing into NASCAR, the super speedways are really going to be, aside from the road tracks, the super speedways are kind of going to be more familiar.
It's like right up her alley.
It's going to be right there, and the road courses definitely would be the case too because of the Grand Prix style racing that you have.
Now here's another question I got you. When I go and pick up my kids from school, they go to Ann Arbor and Ypsilanti. I drive by the Michigan International Speedway every single time. When are they there this year?
It'll be Father's Day weekend. It's always a tradition.
Okay, kids, Father's Day weekend.
So treat your dad.
I've never been to a NASCAR race.
So in other words, he wants you to go to a NASCAR race and send him selfies of you in the grandstand.
No, I want to go myself.
You actually want to go there too?
I would like to see.
For Father's Day.
I put it this way. Have you ever seen a NASCAR race?
Yes.
Have you?
Yes.
I have never.
Yes.
In person.
Yes.
I have never seen one. I would love to see one.
You know, it's a good another good one to go to. Obviously MIS,
Chicago.
very good track. Chicago's good. Bristol.
Yes, and you know
very good.
That's a very, very interesting segue, Steve. I thank you. They're going to be going to Bristol next Sunday for the Food City 500. 500 laps of, I have to say, this is the best full contact car racing coming up next week. You have to watch.
Yeah, if you like NASCAR and Demolition Derby all at the same time, Bristol is the no, it is too, because man, you want to. There are very few now. Mind you, I am not. I used to really watch NASCAR a lot. I don't watch it much anymore. Life gets in the way. Got a lot of things in the fire. Don't really have time to sit down for a 3-hour race. But I will tell you this. I will make it a point to watch as much of the Bristol race as I can, because the short tracks are just so crazy.
Especially Bristol.
It is not just, because obviously the old tag about NASCAR, drive fast, turn left. Bristol is so much more than that. There's so much contact. You see wild wrecks, and this is a track where getting up to 100 miles an hour is a challenge. So it's almost like looking at US 20 out here during rush hour.
Oh, definitely. And there's going to be a few beat up cars and bad attitudes.
Yeah, there you go. That too.
Yes.
Yeah, and that is another very good point Josh just brought up is, man, if you got a couple of guys feuding, oh, what a track to
it's
have.
on.
But this is where this is where it was also people come to watch the crashes. That was one of the big things with NASCAR.
Yeah.
It wasn't to come watch racing; they come to watch the wrecks. It's like coming to a hockey game
and the bump and run for the win.
You didn't go watch for the hockey. You came to watch for the fights.
Yeah. Oh, the old joke. I went to a fight last night and a hockey game broke out.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And but I think, and Josh, I'll let you expand on this, but I think a lot of the watching NASCAR for the crashes, NASCAR helps with that too, because think about it. Whenever you watch Daytona or Talladega, what do they talk about? The entire race,
big one, when
one.
It's going to happen and where.
Right, exactly. How many cars are going to get taken out, and they attempt to create their own narrative.
And I would just love to see a clean race all the way through.
And believe it or not, there have been caution-free races at Talladega, and you know what? You'll find out next month.
There you go.
So your take on that, as far as watching, a lot of fans going to NASCAR races, a lot of them go because they're favorite drivers, they love NASCAR, period. you do have that sect of people that go simply to see a bunch of cars run fast and maybe even crash, a couple of wrecks. Does NASCAR help with that narrative?
I mean, it's kind of to each their own to what the fans like to see. I mean, shoot, some of them just like to go to have the beer, but
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Show of hands.
No,
yes, the beer.
I like the beer. I like to see the race.
Yeah, I mean, especially I've been going to the Brickyard 400 every year since 1994 when it first started. There's tons of great places to watch the race, and I'm one of those guys who's just, if there's real life race cars going around the track, I'm sold. I'm turned on. I'm ready to watch. But, there's some that are like, oh, yeah, I want to see this car go upside down and into the catch fence. No, I mean, because, if you like seeing drivers take a chance at getting hurt or the fans get hurt, that's your thing. But, safety, that's the key. The speeds, the action, that's what it should be all about. But some people are blinded by the fact that the crashes are what makes NASCAR.
Yeah, I think you kind of lose sight when you see that car going around in circles. You kind of lose sight of the fact that there is a human life in there.
Yes, there is.
There's somebody in there, for Pete's sake. You gotta let them. You gotta let them walk away. Man.
See, and the thing is,
wreck.
I love to see the beauty of the game, and I love to see the beauty of the race. I love to see, the duel as they come down the straightaway, as what they do going into the corner. I mean, as far as the hitting and everything else, I could care less about that.
Exactly.
I it's like hockey. I love to see the plays. I love to sit up as high as I can to watch it form. And that's what I like. When I watch racing, I watch more for that. I watch, what do you do? How do you draft? How do you make your move to get around the guy in front of you?
I tell you what, we'll find out next week. The old-fashioned way, the bump and run. Just use that front bumper and just push the guy out of the way.
Oh yeah. My favorite. By the way, for next week, I early pick. I like Jeff Gordon in Bristol.
I would have to agree with you there.
I really do. He always seems to have good runs at Bristol. He's real good driving in traffic. I like him to break out in his swan song season.
I hope he does.
And do that. So, anyhow, Todd Burlage joins us next. Going to talk his thoughts on Notre Dame basketball's biggest surprise and what he thought of the Final Four, men's Final Four, coming up right after this. You listen to Cheap Seats on XCRS Radio.
Danielle Slav from Cheers Pub here. If you're looking for the best live music in Michiana, Cheers Pub is for you. Established in 1982, Cheers has become a well-known venue featuring local, regional, and national acts. Hard rock, metal, indie, and classic rock music is featured weekly on our newly remodeled stage. We have karaoke on Wednesday nights, drink specials nightly, 4 Horsemen pizza, and a full menu to curb your appetite. We're open 3 p.m. to 3 a.m. Monday through Saturday. Located at 103 Dixie Way South in Roseland. Cheers Pub, where friends become family.
Come back to Mishawaka for some home cooking, whether you're out late at night or up early in the morning. Featuring Dog and Suds root beer, iconic cupcakes, homemade biscuits and gravy. The Iconic Cafe, 215 North Main Street, Mishawaka.
Life is meant to be savored. If you find the reason, Morgan's and the Little Black Dog Tavern in downtown Mishawaka, Indiana will make it special. From the casual European atmosphere to the high-end tavern fare, Morgan's and the Little Black Dog Tavern give you the chance to savor every day. Stop in and savor your day with your choice of a wide variety of drinks, from a classic martini to the best beers from local breweries. Savor your day on the patio, or come in and enjoy a glass of wine with some of our mouth-watering entrees. We're located in the historic Cam Brewery Stable Building in the 100 Center in downtown Mishawaka, Indiana. Call 574-807-0101 for reservations. Like us on Facebook to find out today's food and drink specials, or stop by our website at morgansandlbd.com. Drink in the moments, feast on the memories, savor every day at Morgan's and the Little Black Dog Tavern.
1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2.
Tune in to XERS Radio and get your funkin' groove on with me, Deanna, for a non-stop dance party as we stroll, hustle, bounce, and electric slide through the decades to the old school R&B, disco, funk, and hip-hop hits. If you can get jiggy with it, you better believe you're going to hear it here every Saturday night from 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern. Dance party classics from artists like Aretha Franklin, The Temptations, Shaka Khan, and the Ohio Players are sure to get you moving. And every week, I'll be dusting off some of my old 45s and 12-inch dance LPs to bring you old school jams from artists you haven't heard in a while, like Cameo, The Bar-Kays, M2May, and, well, Milli Vanilli. You know, it's true. Listen, if you're getting ready for a night on the town or having your own personal dance party in your living room, you can pump up the jams every Saturday night with me, Deanna Lynn Bennett, on the X.
Yeah, boy. You better ring the alarm, boy. You know what's coming, boy.
And we are back. You're tuned in to the Cheap Seats on XERS Radio. Of course, I am with you right here, and because I would be talking to you otherwise.
That was brilliant. That was brilliant. That was a way to put that in there. I am here with you.
Okay,
well, really?
Wait,
I'm here for you.
First of all, what's today's date? Today is what, the 10th?
Today is the 10th.
Okay, April 10th. I'm going to write it down in the calendar. Most awkward
intro.
Most awkward bring back.
Yeah, most outro
ever.
Wow. That was good.
Well, now I'm done stumbling over myself.
Let's bring
of course,
Todd
I
in,
am your
please.
host, Steve Willis. Alongside me, Steve Detterman, Josh Briggs in studio with us the entire day. And now on the hotline.
That's right.
It is the third amigo, and that is the
fourth
only,
amigo.
Well, yeah, now the fourth amigo. The one, the only.
You're really struggling today,
I
aren't
am.
you?
I am.
Todd, help us out here, please. Help us out.
Yeah, what's up, Todd?
Jeez, if I'm your bailout guy, wow, we have problems.
So we touched on earlier in the show about Notre Dame. Obviously, their loss to UConn once again being the bridesmaid, not the bride. Beyond that, now Notre Dame gets dealt with a big blow of Jewel Loyd leaving for the WNBA unexpectedly. Thoughts on this as to why and what do you think might be going on behind the scenes of anything?
It's been the question of the week. I had done kind of a eulogy story after the loss to UConn on the fanindiana.com talking about how, so much was coming back for Notre Dame that really the 2016 team was really built for a national championship much more than this year's team. In a lot of facets and a lot of opinions, this team really overachieved this year's team to even get to where it got. But to get that news then shortly thereafter, I don't have a lot of good answers. I tried to dig around a little bit. I thought maybe it was a situation where, maybe the family was poor or whatnot, but she comes from Lincolnwood, Illinois, which is a suburb, not a real wealthy suburb of Chicago, but it's a middle-class suburb for sure.
Right.
Went to Niles West High School in Skokie, which certainly, we're not talking about a real poor, run-down school there. That's for sure. It's a proud school.
Right.
I lived in that area.
And then the other thought was, well, Moffitt mentioned after the game that they have 3 All-American guards coming in next year. But do you think a candidate for Player of the Year is going to worry about splitting time with an incoming freshman? I don't think that's the case. I really don't have any good answers, and there was never any indication that there was any kind of, turbulence or problems, be it in the classroom or with teammates or anything. So I don't know. Maybe she just thought the timing was right. But guys, I'll give you this. She'll probably be a top 3 pick. And she'll probably make about $50,000 a year, but to sacrifice a Notre Dame degree for $50,000 a year for a few years, I just don't think is a good move. And I think more than anything, Notre Dame will lose. They'll miss her 19.8 points a game from this year and everything she brings. But most notably, they will miss her leadership. This is a very young team, and I think really more than anything, they needed her leadership as much as her production.
Oh, and I agree with you wholeheartedly, and I brought that up. I mean, as far as the average salary for a WNBA player. But, and what a Notre Dame degree will bring you. I mean, a Notre Dame degree will bring you more than $50,000 a year right off the bat. And it just, to me, it just sounds like, I listened to all the, I read everything that was put out there and listened to what was said after the game as far as, Muffet was upset that, it seemed like the players came through with the attitude of, well, that's what we expected. And she was upset with that. And she said, the only one that was against that was Jewel Loyd, and Jewel Loyd was upset and she was mad and everything else. To me, it just comes down that there had to be something there, either something between her teammates or whatever. But I also look at the last 5 games. The last 5 games that Jewel Loyd played were probably the worst 5 games she played all season.
Yeah, fair enough. But you know what, Steve? To me, that was sort of awkward. And I guess you're left with no choice if you're the WNBA. Their draft is on Thursday.
Right.
So the draft is on the 16th. She had almost exactly 24 hours after the loss to UConn where she had to declare. She had till 11:59 p.m. Wednesday night to declare, to make her intentions known. Okay, well, they played darn near to that hour on Tuesday night. So you just can't help but wonder if maybe the sting of that loss maybe factored into that decision, and I understand the WNBA has to do what it has to do, but at the same time, it's weird to give a gal coming off a national championship loss basically 24 hours to make that decision instead of giving her a chance to sort of digest that, let it sink in, and make the right choice. So that is sort of my one explanation that I've been giving people. Maybe it was a reactionary thing, but you know what? When you look at it, she did have like 2 days to withdraw her name. We haven't heard anything as such yet. I don't think it's going to happen. It seemed very finalized on the Notre Dame part. So that was about the only thing I could think of. Very disappointed, maybe not happy with the attitude of her team. But keep in mind, 7 of the 13 kids on this roster are freshmen and sophomores. So it is a young team that's only going to get better and older as we go here. So, yeah, very disappointing, very surprising, but that's about the only explanation I can come up with, is maybe a bit of a knee-jerk decision given the small time frame she was given to make it.
And go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, Todd, I agree with you, bud. I wish she would have stayed around for her senior year, but like I told the fellows earlier, there could be a lot of things, a lot of hidden agendas, and just what you don't know. And,
sure.
You hit it really well, and I just think that she could have done better, but as Steve said,
ultimately, it's her decision, and you wonder sometimes, guys, too, who's chirping in her ear, who's telling her this. You'll be a top 3. Are you worried about injuries? You made it to the finals twice. Is that good enough? I guess the dynamic. It's interesting though. It's only the 4th time in WNBA history where somebody's left some eligibility on the table to leave early for this draft. I guess the most notable was Candace Parker, the Tennessee standout. She left in 2008, forewent her senior year, and ended up being the number 1 pick in that draft. So it's not something that happens very often. I think that's why all 4 of us were so shocked when we heard the news, because, it's not like Kentucky with 7, maybe 8 guys, and Duke rolling their whole roster over and whatnot. Happens on the guy side all the time, but to hear it on the women's side, it's obviously very surprising, to put it lightly.
So now this might be a bit of a hot take, but I'm going to throw it at you anyway. Without Jewel Loyd, even with the guards coming in next year, or supposed to be coming in next year, what does this do to the initial thought that this coming year was going to be Notre Dame's big year?
I think it impacts it greatly. I mean, when you looked at the 4 returning starters, the main 4 returning starters, in Loyd averaging 19.8, Brianna Turner 13.6, Lindsey Allen 10 points, and Reimer 10 points. They had more than 2/3 of their offense, their point-scoring offense, and rebounding for that matter, coming back next year. If you take Jewel Loyd's 20 points out of that game, it's less than half. So it's a big impact production-wise. But I think more importantly, as I said earlier, I think the leadership standpoint, this is such a young team, and I know Muffet McGraw, the head coach, really griped about it early on. They lost some strong voices off of last year's team, and this was a real sticking point for this group. Nobody wanted to step up and call other players out when they needed to, and you obviously go to your guard play for that, and Lindsey Allen is the one you have to go to. She's so soft-spoken, I just can't see Lindsey Allen as the type of player, the sort of take charge type of player to fill in that role for Jewel Loyd. So, you know what? I just don't think now I thought they were equipped to play with Connecticut next year, and of course Connecticut only loses one starter next year, and they bring back Breanna Stewart, the best player ever to play college basketball. But you know, when you look at it, I just think the loss of Loyd from a leadership and a production standpoint. Will they make it to the Final Four? Probably so. You know, I mean, that's the women's game. But I think when you have to measure Notre Dame and where it is in the hierarchy of college basketball, you obviously have to go to the top with UConn. And I felt like Notre Dame would be right there with UConn next year. I don't think so anymore with the loss of Jewel Loyd.
But then again, that was one of the main, I'd say, gripes or complaints that they had this year, and I know Muffet had, was that they had no leader that stood up. When Chanwa went down and you know, she was gone this year, they didn't have that. Jewel Loyd didn't step up and take that load. And then also, when you take a look at the last 5 games, they won those games despite her. And, you know, yes, you take her points out and everything else, but if you bring in these All-Americans, and I know she's got a couple really good players coming in. I think she's got the Wisconsin Player of the Year coming in, and she's got a couple, I think, does she have the Indiana Player of the Year coming in also, I believe? I mean, when you have these...
She has three McDonald's All-Americans, All-Guards coming in.
When you have these people coming in, are you... I mean, yes, you're going to miss Jewel Loyd's abilities, but what she's done the last five games and what the team had to pick up despite what she did, because I'll be honest, I watched the last couple of those games, and some of the shots she threw up, I just shook my head and said, wow, where did that come from? I mean, you know, maybe this was a time in maybe this was a time where she felt she had to go because these people coming in, maybe they were going to push her a little bit farther than she wanted to go.
You know what? But when you're talking about a candidate for Player of the Year
I understand.
That's accomplished so much. You know, I don't. If she's that fragile in her mindset, then you know I would be surprised. I can't imagine that. I understand your point. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, you know, the thing I look at is if she wasn't willing to take the lead, you know, as far as a vocal leader with this team. You know, that's the thing that sticks in my mind. Your star player, you want to be the vocal leader of the team. And the one thing they said, they did not have that this year. You know, when you go into
I don't know if I would disagree with that to a point. I don't think they had that early in the season, but from the Miami loss on, I think they really did, and I think that falls on Jewel Loyd. I'm not going to say she's the strongest leader. You know, she's no Kayla McBride or the Achinoa, I can never say that gal's name. Those were two strong leaders last year that they lost. I'm not going to compare to those, but I think she really did take this team by the bootstraps and say, all right, we got to get this going on. So I think another year of seasoning and another trip to the national championship game, I honestly believe that Jewel Loyd could have been that strong voice that Muffet's looking for next year. But obviously she wasn't interested in taking on that role for whatever reason. But I don't disagree with your point, but I will disagree with it to some extent that I think that she really did when this team was sort of floundering around a little bit, about a third of the way through the season. I think she really did. I think she gave them the lift. And when you look at what she did, this is a team that played 18 ranked opponents this year. And Jewel Loyd, while she averaged 19.8 points a game for the season, she averaged darn near 25, 26 against the ranked opponents. So she played her best against the best. Now, I agree with you that, you know, through the tournament a little bit, she struggled some and other players picked her up. But I think if you look at the body of work and what she did against ranked opponents through the regular season, I think you'll think a little bit differently about the job she did, both as a scorer, player, and a leader.
All right, so let's move on to the men's Final Four real quick while we got a little time to do it. First of all, I want to give kudos to you and Steve Detterman and myself because we all picked one facet of the Kentucky-Wisconsin game that ended up coming true. You, of course, said race to 70, and it was true. You know, first team to 70. It looked like they'd end up winning it. Steve Detterman picked the game outright, saying Wisconsin, and then I had said the only way Wisconsin's going to beat them is by playing Big Ten basketball, which is, you know, tight defense, keep it, you know, keep them away from scoring, and you know, stretch out the clock, and they did. There was one statistic that I remember that popped up with about 5 minutes left to go. Wisconsin was on a 7-0 run, and it was like almost 3 minutes long in that 7-0 run. And I was like, wow, that's Big Ten basketball.
Right.
And I mean, what wall did Kentucky finally hit that Wisconsin put up that ended up being too much for them? What was it you saw?
Kind of go back to the Notre Dame game a little bit. Kentucky wasn't used to teams just coming at them and you know, smack them in the mouth. And when Notre Dame did that, and I'm not saying Wisconsin couldn't have done it without, you know, Notre Dame sort of priming Kentucky for it. But I think that Notre Dame game maybe put a little bit of doubt in Kentucky, and then Wisconsin sort of followed it up, hit them in the mouth again, did the same thing. You know, and I think it shows. I think it shows, to my point, where the Kentucky players, like a bunch of pouty you-know-whats, raced off the court. They wouldn't even shake the hands of the Wisconsin players. They were gone, and then the Harrison kid, what he did in the postgame there. I just think this was when things come so easy for a team, when you can get up on them, hit them in the mouth, and really sort of put a lot of pressure on them, they're not used to that pressure, so they don't respond well to it. And I thought that was a classic example right there with Kentucky. But frankly, physically, matchup-wise, Wisconsin, I felt Wisconsin really matched up well with Kentucky, and that proved to be the point, actually. You know, I don't know that Duke would have even matched up as well as against Kentucky as Wisconsin did. Once all was said and done. But I think ultimately there was some vulnerability on this team. You know, keep in mind, you know, they have 7, maybe 8 underclassmen. I stretch the word underclassmen head into the NBA. So they're young guys. These are kids. These aren't men.
Right.
Wisconsin has more men than Kentucky has men. So I think when a man can smack a boy on the mouth, I think this is the result.
Now then we move on to the championship game, and you basically brought it up. You brought up and touted Duke and how well they had done, and how you were very impressed with them. In that championship game, the problem is in my mind is it came down to the last couple possessions, and it came down to officials' calls. And your take on those two, because there were a couple too that just really, you know, bothered me as far as getting, you know, this type of, you know, this far into the tournament, and this is what you get.
Yeah, I didn't feel like any of the Final Four was particularly well officiated, to be honest with you. It's hard to say, guys, to be honest with you. I was at a casino sitting at a blackjack table. The game was on, so I didn't sit there and break it down. Once Notre Dame was out, I won't say I lost a lot of interest.
Did you win?
Yeah, I did.
Okay,
really
well, hey, there you go.
So, frankly, I couldn't give him 2 squats about what was going on up there on the TV screen. You know, but I was intrigued by Duke's comeback. I saw they were down 9, and then all of a sudden they're up 5. So that was kind of eye-opening to me. I've heard a lot about it. I guess the thing I'm uncomfortable with, I don't mind this replay thing. But my word, it's so overused. I think coaches actually need to start thinking we can burn our timeouts early because we're going to get 5 free ones in the last 2 minutes. And that's kind of a weird dynamic. I don't know that there's a solution to working this better, but it just seems to me it's weird that every single possession now in the last 2 minutes is reviewed. Now, that said, I know the play you're referring to, so if you're going to review it, get it right?
Yes. That's what I would say. I mean, I watched that, and when you watch the trajectory of that ball change, it wasn't like, you had Samantha from Bewitched with her little nose twitching it and making it go. There had to be a reason for that thing to go, and how the officials don't see that, I just don't understand that.
Well, Steve, they came out after the fact and said they did not have that particular angle, which begs another question. Why wouldn't they have that particular angle?
If we have that angle, why don't they?
Yeah, I was going to say, if they have that in the truck and they're giving it to CBS, why in the world would these guys not have it on closed circuit?
They need to show it to everybody.
To me, that's the biggest question of all, is because I think I totally agree with you that with the trajectory of the ball, exactly what you're saying, made the call, I think, fairly obvious. But they came back and said after the fact that they never saw that angle, and that, I guess, needs to be fixed. But, it just I'm a little uncomfortable. I think all this intrusion of replay and reliance on replay has made the officiating very lazy in a lot of respects.
I agree with you.
I think these guys are sort of relying on this. Well, we'll make a call and then we'll go fix it. I don't think they dig in as hard as they should, because they almost feel like they have a bailout. And then I think 25% of the time they don't even get the bailout right. You never know. You want to go with, even as we watch it, and it's totally obvious, be it football, baseball, basketball, whatever the case may be. You guys, I'm sure you agree with me. Hell, it seems like only 75% of the time do they make the call that I think needs to be made. So, I don't know.
It's
a bizarre situation.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, but here's the other thing I wanted to bring up with you. What's your opinion? Because I mean, the one thing that killed me were the halftime interviews with the coaches, the after game, let's bring the players in and let's do this. I think we're seeing more problems with these because these kids have just gotten through something, or you're in the middle of thing. You ask a coach, so how you playing? Your team is getting beaten by 20 points. What do you expect the coach to say? Well, we'll bring it up to the. He's pissed, and I'm like going, let's just get to the studio and let's talk about it. Let him get in and talk to his coach. I don't care what the player has to say right after the game. Give him a couple hours and let's talk to him.
No, you don't have time. You're on deadline, dude.
No. And I understand. I understand deadlines and everything else, but I mean, we've seen more.
Suck it up. You're a scholarship, big-time college player. Get your ass out there. Answer the questions. If you want to give a BS answer, give a BS answer. That's fine.
Okay.
But get your butt out there and do it. Handle your responsibility. You big boy. You signed up for this. You went to Kentucky basketball.
Yeah, suck it up, Nancy.
Wisconsin basketball. You signed up for it. You know this is part of the program. If you want to go to Wright State, go to Wright State. But here's where you went. So be ready to go, because you can't win every game, okay? I totally disagree with you.
I knew I could get you riled up, and I wanted to get your opinion on that, and I appreciate that. Now I got to ask you this: Bo Ryan, sour grapes?
Yeah, he was big time sour grapes because a week earlier he was fine with the one and done. He said, "Oh, you know what? It's all good. I understand it. Everything's fine and dandy. Kids need to do what they need to do." And then he gets beat by Duke, and he's like, "Oh, well, what do you call them, mercenaries?"
Yes, he called me. I don't go for those rent-a players.
Yeah, rent-a players. That's what it was. Yeah. So absolutely sour grapes. And I thought that was total BS for him to. For him to totally flip the side of the coin.
Todd, we miss you in here.
One thing I find interesting about that, guys, one thing I find very interesting about that, and I know Calipari lined up his arsenal of guys that are going to move on to the NBA, and we all attack Calipari, and I think rightfully so. But it's interesting because the same thing is going on down there in Durham.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
But yet, for some reason, Krzyzewski gets this sort of free pass on it. It's just bizarre to me Calipari's sort of
I think
the Dark Knight in all this, and Krzyzewski. Oh, well, great. Because he always says, "Well, I built this great relationship with Okafor. It was fabulous. I love the guy to death."
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's more towards Calipari's past with Massachusetts in that.
Yeah.
Well,
whereas Krzyzewski he's the saint of all basketball, isn't he?
Well, I think there's another. I think there might be another dynamic to that too, though. If you think about it, all this year and last year for that matter, Calipari made no bones about the kind of team he had this year. They made no bones about the kind of team they had this year. I mean, and they were proud to wear the badge of being that team of mercenaries, and they're all going to see each other in the NBA next year and this, that, and the other. Whereas Duke did not really flaunt the idea of the one and done. And if I'm right, Okafor is the only one and doneer they have
so far.
And
Winslow will go, and so will Price.
Yeah, but then at the same time,
they're gone.
And at the same time, that's still only 3. That's not 8. So I mean, we're not talking
about 8 freshmen on Kentucky. So it's kind of a little slack.
Well, because look at Kentucky with all their guys. I mean, they got Cauley Stein, they got the Harrison twins, they got Towns.
I mean, you confirm it. So some of those guys came back for second years.
Yeah, there's a few sophomores mixed in there, so at least these guys are leaving with their associate's degree, right?
Right.
As long as they get the associates, that's all that matters.
They're leaving with that they actually went to school for 2 years. They didn't participate in the classes. They went to school for 2 years.
They had a change of address for 2 years. But
badge of honor.
Yeah. They lived in a dorm, maybe.
Yes. No, they didn't.
They lived in apartments.
They lived in nice apartments.
Yes, they did. In the Cayman Islands, they got flown back
in every week. They participated enough.
So
They wore the jersey. That's good enough. That's that.
Anyhow, before we let you go, Todd, while we got you on, we got Josh Briggs here. I know you guys are both NASCAR guys. You told us last week you're a big NASCAR fan. We got Texas Motor Speedway this weekend.
Yes, we do.
And Briggs gave us his fast four. Why don't you run down your fast four real quick again for Burlage?
All right, Todd, buddy. I got Kevin Harvick. And then Carl Edwards, who I think is going to pull it off. I mean, I'm sure you love to see Carl Edwards do his backflip, right?
Absolutely. He's a good pick.
Yeah, so, and then you got Martin Truex Jr., who's been absolutely on fire this year with his top 10 streak. And then David Reagan, I mean, he's been like the super sub for Kyle Busch. Don't you agree?
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, I do. Yeah, he's in good equipment. You sort of – a little bit without Harvick, you're 3 sort of upset winners there. I like it because Texas sort of lends itself to a lot of that. I still think you better keep an eye on Logano, and my upset pick would I think Matt Kenseth is due for a good run.
Yeah,
that would be a guy that will quietly. I've not looked at a lot of practice speeds or whatnot. I can't wait to watch the race tonight. As a matter of fact, that's how much of a freak I am about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it should be a lot of fun tomorrow. And I like your upset picks. I think Truex. I think he has a top 5 in him for sure. I think Harvick obviously sets up the best here. I guess we're totally ignoring Hendrick here, but I like your picks. I think those are solid upsets for sure. And it's always a fun track. It's always a fun race. Is Terry Labonte or Bobby Labonte racing?
No, I wish. I mean, I had this debate real quick. I had this debate that we should all go back to the 90s and just remember when racing was racing, because those boys really put it on them.
You know what? I did a story, several actually, back in the day for Yahoo. I was a contributing writer for their NASCAR coverage. And I did a big story that ended up being wildly popular on just how NASCAR spread itself too thinly and turned its back on its southeastern roots. If you remember, they actually moved the Southern 500 from Darlington to Fontana, California for a couple of years. Are you serious?
Yeah, now, don't get me started on that. That's
I know.
That's one we're going to have to talk about for a while, and we don't have enough time, I don't think.
No, I'll wrap it up with that. But at least they were able to give that race back to Darlington, because that was about the biggest joke. Like California needs 2 dates. They can't sell out one. So, hey,
So when are you back in studio with us, Todd?
Well, hit me up next week. You never know with these kidlings, man. They always kind of keep me guessing, but I'll come in and talk whatever, man. I'll bring my gear and
there you go.
Race out.
I think we need to, we definitely need to get these two in studio.
I think so.
Turn microphones A and B over to them.
I think you and I will go upstairs for a while and let them just talk racing.
Yeah, let's go soak up some rays, right?
There we go. Oh my goodness.
For sure.
Yeah, I'd get the two of you. I'd talk to Bill about getting you guys like a NASCAR show or something.
That would be cool.
Yes, I'm all for it.
Oh,
so
I'd love to.
Yes, put up some votes, please.
Okay, if that turns out to actually happen,
that's us.
Let me know. I got credit for that. I just want to let you guys know.
Willis gets the credit.
Yes, absolutely.
I use all the trucks, man. That's how bad I am.
Oh man, that's hardcore. That's hardcore. If you follow all the circuits, that's hardcore. That's cool.
Right here, baby. Right here.
Totally. All right, Todd, we will catch up with you next week, my friend.
Thanks, Todd.
See you, bud.
Time, guys. I really appreciate it.
Yep.
All right, man.
Have a good week.
Weekend, guys.
Thanks. Todd Burlage with us on the XERS streaming radio hotline. And that's a wrap, boys.
All right.
Wow, we did it.
I can't believe
2 hours down.
This 2 hours went by so quick.
Time flies when you have fun.
As, what was it? As Rush Limbaugh would say, another piece of. I'm trying to remember the phrase now. He says something like another hour destined for radio history.
Yeah,
and headed to the Hall of Fame. So. Anyhow, well,
that's my
sports radio history.
Yes, that's right.
That's for us.
That's right.
Anyhow, that was awesome, man. I'm glad
it was.
Hey,
I had a lot of fun.
Todd brought something up that I didn't even stop to think about. A couple of things, actually. First of all, the thing that you had mentioned, I didn't want to jump into it because we were pressed for time, but I actually I agree with Todd as far as. If you're a big boy, playing boy ball, you need to step up to the microphone and be a big boy. I get that. There was no place for what Harrison said.
No, definitely not.
Period. Ever. Period. Never any place for it. It was horrible. It was offensive to people. Even
unprofessional
outside.
Too.
Yeah, and it was offensive to people even outside of the black community.
Yes.
It was awful. And now the fact that he said it in the press conference makes it worse.
Oh my God!
If he would have said that, not that I would be okay with it, but if he would have said it on the court. 30 seconds after the game, somebody runs up to him and asks him about Frank the Tank. Then if that got blurted out, then I would say, you know what? Heat of the moment. If we haven't learned anything from the Richard Sherman thing, heat of the moment can change your entire perspective on everything.
Did you hear Frank Kaminsky's response to that?
No, I didn't.
He basically said, "Hey, that's said all the time out in the court." He says, "I don't take any, we talked and everything's fine." He says, "I hear that out there from white players and black players. Doesn't make a difference to me."
As being somebody who's played football and basketball, I will tell you for sure. That heat of the moment brings about a lot of things.
It does.
A lot of things.
Yes, it does.
That you would not say in private company.
I've seen Shaq drop the F-bomb on a YouTube clip before.
Yeah, I mean it's there are stuff that you don't say. But in the presser, an hour after the game, when you've had a chance to kind of unload that passion and that adrenaline is worn down.
But you got to remember,
now you're just clowning the guy.
This is now what 38-1. You are still disappointed. You haven't gotten over the fact that you lost.
Right.
I mean, I understand. I agree with Todd on that. Yes, you're a big boy. You sign up for it. You need to know what you say, but it's still to a point to where they are still kids.
Right.
I mean, they are. I mean, the kid's still 19, 20 years old.
But the professional element in a college game and that kind of platform.
You are still only 20. How many times have you said something when you were 20 or 21 that you sit there and look back today and say, "God, I wish I wouldn't have said that."
Right.
I wish I would have done that.
But look,
But it's not in a public setting like that.
Yeah,
it's
this is
not
not the
setting.
average 19 and 20-year-old. These people have handlers.
Yep.
They have people that tell them. They have
handlers that do the talking for them in print. They don't have the handlers that do the talking for them publicly.
Well, still, either way,
I
there's
understand.
no call for it.
No. I agree. Now, there's still no call for it.
Now, the other thing, and we'll lead out with this. The other thing that I had heard Todd say that I actually kind of it made me think, and I didn't really want to jump in for time's sake, is when he had mentioned Jewel Loyd only having 24 hours to declare for the WNBA draft tonight.
That's too quick.
That is way too quick. Think about this. How many NFL players would have retired and then came back?
I told you that story.
They were only allowed 24 hours to decide whether they're going to retire or not. How many times would Peyton Manning have retired?
See, and the thing is,
how many more times would Brett Favre have retired?
See, and that's I told you, because they talked about this after Brett Favre did that, and they talked to a guy that retired and said, you know, if anyone came to me at the bus after the last game and asked me when I should, if I wanted to retire, it's unfair to ask that. You wait 2 or 3 months afterwards before you ask an NFL player, because at that point they're so beat, they're so defeated, they're just so down and hurt.
Especially if you're coming off of a loss.
Yes, and that's when they would ask you.
Themselves.
Yeah. So that there is a little bit of, you almost wonder if there's going to be a little. I don't know if you want to call it buyer's remorse.
Well, I put it this way, that has to change with the WNBA. They have to at least wait a week, I would say.
If they can change.
I would say it has to go that way.
Hey, Josh Briggs, quick NASCAR update.
Thank you.
Yes, I was just showing you guys. Kurt Busch and Kevin Harvick will be on the front row for tomorrow night's Duck Commander 500. So Kurt Busch is on a roll. Kevin Harvick once again. Hey, how about that? That was one of my fast four.
There you go.
Don't forget.
Kurt Busch with pole, right?
Yes, Kurt Busch on the pole.
Right.
He's on a roll.
There he goes.
Right. So there we
it's
go.
Like butter.
Once again, if you missed the show, you can check it out on Spreaker or iHeartRadio. Just go if you have a Google Play, Google.
If you
device.
have a Googler.
If you got a Googler.
Googly eyes.
You got a Google device. Or if you have
anything that's a Google
an
letter.
iPhone, you can go to the App Store or you can go to the Google Play Store. Download Spreaker or you can download iHeartRadio. Just look up the Cheap Seats on either or. You'll find them. You can find us on Twitter and Facebook. And
Can you say it again?
No.
Either or?
Nope. One shot. That's all you got there. For Josh Briggs and Steve Dennerman, I'm your host, Steve Willis. We are going to get you right back to music here in just a second. You guys have a great weekend.
Have a good night.
See you guys.